First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
And this was the Andy Reid special. This was the Andy Reid special we talked about. He was saving all day. He's going to fake a motion to go across. And at that moment, he turns and goes back. Hardman, who they didn't have, right? And they go get Hardman and bring him back. And the game-winning drive of Mahomes' career, he's been waiting for. He's won Super Bowls, but he's never had it in an overtime. He is the best. He is the standard. Your Michael Jordan wins it again.
The 7th longest game in the history of the NFL was one of the most memorable ones as well. And the Chiefs, you're going to hear a lot about it. You might as well say it right now. They have their dynasty.
Oh, boy, are you ready? Well, the Chiefs certainly are ready to try to run it back. Take a look at the featured national games you can catch on CBS in 2024. Well, you get the Chiefs in week 2 hosting the Bengals. They're on the road taking on their division rival, the Chargers, in week 4. You have a couple games getting the Eagles in action, some divisional matchups, taking on the Cowboys, also taking on the Ravens, Bills, Lions, a team to keep your eye out on, and then week 16. San Francisco 49ers traveling down to Miami, a reunion of sorts of offensive coordinator and head coach now between the Niners and the Dolphins. You can catch all of this action on CBS. And when you think of NFL on CBS, you think of the legendary voice joining us on the heels of the 2024 NFL schedule release. We welcome in the lead voice for the NFL on CBS, Jim Nantz. And Jim, I feel like before we can look ahead, I believe we'd be remiss without looking back at the season that was. It was about a year ago from right now where you were taking in the schedule for the 2023-2024 season. It was a path that would take us to the most watched program ever in Super Bowl 58. We just saw the highlights just a few moments ago, and you called it. You said last year it would be a monumental of events that we have ever witnessed. Going from February to where we stand right now, what's got you excited for what lies ahead for the NFL on CBS?
Well, first off, I'm excited to be on with you to be able to talk about this. I love the schedule release day. It's something I look forward to try to see what like half of my year is going to look like, the matchups, the teams, the players, the coaches. I'm going to have a chance to document. But yes, that Super Bowl just a little more than 3 months ago, it still lives in my brain. I don't think I quite let it out of my system until maybe it's still in there too. Maybe it's just still kind of living with me because it was the most watched show in the history of television, and not by just like a tenth of a rating point. It was by a considerable amount. That one's going to sit on the shelf a long time. Good luck to anyone that comes along and tries to knock that one off. That one may be sitting there for years, if not decades, as the most watched show in the history of television. You had 5 quarters. You had Mahomes. You had all the stars of San Francisco. It was compelling. You had Taylor Swift in the stands. So that was a lot of fun. Tony and I love being able to broadcast it. Now to see this schedule, I love seeing the slate of games that you just put up there, beginning with our doubleheader game week 2 with Cincinnati at Arrowhead. That's huge. What has me the most excited? Maybe Philadelphia, Dallas is a good one later in the season. I believe it's in November. I'm still trying to kind of like process all of this. You mentioned San Francisco at Miami late in the year, reunion game for the coach in that one for the Dolphins. And I don't know. I love the schedule. I'm very excited about what we have. It's to me, we boil it down to what are the national games is the Sunday afternoon package of the AFC primarily. What are our 425 windows look like? What do they look like? And this year, there's a lot of firepower there.
Yeah, like you mentioned, from a top to bottom, incredible presentation put on by CBS to culminate the 2023 season to now a new path being forged with some high-profile contests and thrilling matchups on the CBS slate for 2024. As the bar has been set yet again by the network, but let's look ahead to what lies for the season. And when you take a look on paper at this lineup of matchups, what was just your initial impressions? What stood out to you?
I think the fact that we have 8 Kansas City games, so we have almost half their games, that doesn't mean that our crew will necessarily do them all, but we'll do the great majority of them. There you see right there, Cincinnati at KC week 2. Week 4, we have the Chiefs at the Chargers. That is always loaded with drama, usually a high-scoring affair. Kansas City and Buffalo has turned into one of the great rivalry games we have in the NFL these days. And Romo and I have had a chance to call almost all of those, including that epic divisional overtime game a few years back that was 42-36, won by the Chiefs in overtime. So a lot of Kansas City. That's a good thing. We have, as I said, 8 of their games. There's no other network, I believe, that has more than 3, maybe 4. But it's heavy in our package. We have the Cowboys and the Eagles, which will be undoubtedly significant and important when they meet week 11, I believe it is. But Chiefs is the first thing that bounces off the page for me.
Yeah, nearly half of their schedule you can watch the Chiefs on CBS. As you mentioned, 8 games will be featured, but you've gotten a front row seat to watch Patrick Mahomes, watch Travis Kelce, watch Big Red with what he's been able to do with this roster. Just how has it been just watching this dynasty kind of unfold over the past several seasons?
Well, for me, it's a little bit of deja vu because, they've won 3 in a 5-year span, as the graphic shows. This is going to be, I think, the primary story of the season going in for the league this year. No team has ever three-peated in the NFL. And Kansas City will be out to make that history. That is story 1A, whatever you want to call it. That is the headline on the season. You can go back to the old Packers before the Super Bowl era almost a century ago, but in the modern era, there's never been a three-peat. That's going to be front and center all season long. But for me, there's a familiarity with this because back in the days with Brady and Belichick in New England, we were their flagship network, and I think Tom played roughly 350 games total in a Patriots uniform, both regular and post. And I had the blessing of calling over 100 of those, almost a third of his games. This feels very similar to that. What's going on in Kansas City? As the clip you played back from the Super Bowl, as you heard, I proclaimed it back on February 11th. They officially have their dynasty with 3 out of 5 years. And now they could do something that even Tom Brady and everyone else before him has never done, and that's go 3 straight in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, certainly a feat that Kansas City has certainly set their sights on, and they have the talent and they have the coaching to do it. Now we've got the layout, the roadmap it'll take to be able to do that, and we can watch a lot of that action on CBS. But obviously, it's not just about matchups, Jim, but it's also about the travel that the voice of the NFL of CBS has to take into consideration. But I'd love to know, is there a specific matchup that, Jim, maybe you might wake up a little early for? You maybe get your early morning coffee ready to go. You might have an extra pep in your step going into the stadium. What game is that for you that you are really looking forward to this season?
Okay, well, I'm going to go off the screen away from the doubleheader matchups that you showed, and I'm going to go with a Week 7 game at Lambeau Field because I'm energized by what's going on with the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. And Coach D'Amico Ryans. I think what they're doing in Houston is special. We've got Houston at Green Bay. Houston going into Lambeau Field. Jordan Love came on at the end of last season for the Packers, and I was blown away. I had them Week 18 this past January, and he's a star in the making, Jordan Love, and so is C.J. Stroud. So that's the one that really, to me, I'm getting a glimpse into the future a little bit of the NFL with that game. That one's got me fired up.
You talk about the future of the NFL and maybe some stars in the making. Well, we'll get to see some of them on the big stage on Thanksgiving Day. We have the Bears and the Lions. We get to see Caleb Williams and his first Thanksgiving game. And we know that Jared Goff earning that big contract extension. What's got you excited about this Thanksgiving matchup?
Well, I love the Lions story of a year ago. We're going to see the Lions twice late in the year. The Thanksgiving Day game, and a couple of weeks after that, a national game we have is Buffalo right back at Ford Field taking on Detroit. So those are two super matchups. In the Chicago Bears case, though, on Thanksgiving Day, I had a daughter graduated from USC, so I've become a Trojan dad. I follow that college program very closely. I've enjoyed watching Caleb play, win a Heisman one of the years, and just seeing what they hit on in the draft, bringing Keenan Allen and drafting the wide receiver out of Washington with the 9th pick. That is a fleet of receivers that might be second to none. So we're going to feast on a little football like we have for over 30 years on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm very excited. The Chicago-Detroit game has landed in our lap a number of times. I've done it probably close to a handful of times on Thanksgiving Day, but it's never had this kind of star power like we're going to have this year, primarily because of Caleb, who I think is going to be a superstar.
A superstar certainly in the making. Quite a few superstars on the slate on CBS, and talking to a superstar right now. Jim Nantz, it is an absolute privilege. Thank you so much for stopping by.
What a pleasure. Thank you. Great job, and I can't wait to talk to you about it some more during the football season.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Again, you can catch all of the action on CBS. Plenty of power, of star power, plenty of big names, plenty of action, all on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. So we know the schedules in the NFL, but what we don't know, well, it's what we can expect out of the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Following Wednesday's victory over the Cavs, we recap Boston's performance in Game 5 and what lies ahead. That's coming your way next on CBS Sports HQ.